that. Auto closed captions are available, and if you'd like to turn that on, please click the CC button on your control panel. We're requesting that you put your questions in the Q&A section and using the chat for general comments and technical assistance. So my name is Carrie Diamond. I'm the co-director of the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center and Senior Director of Transportation and Mobility at Easter Seals. I'm joined by my colleague, Anjali Dixon, who is also with the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center in Easter Seals. Today's presenters are Bobbi Hegna, Director of Transportation. She's a Certified Mobility Manager and Regional Mobility Manager for the Center of Independent Living for Western Wisconsin. I'm also happy to welcome Cheryl Bereiter, the Transportation Coordinator of the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Northwest Wisconsin. They will both have presentations, and after that, we will have time for question and answer. But as you think of questions, please feel free to enter those in the Q&A section. Briefly about the NADTC, our mission is to promote the availability of accessible transportation for older adults, people with disabilities, caregivers, and their communities. I am with Easter Seals, and we do this in partnership with U.S. Aging and under a contract with the Federal Transit Administration. We provide a variety of free materials, including technical assistance, where you can call our technical assistance line as a professional and get tips on how to, if you have questions about operating your service or the Americans with Disability Act. We also provide training opportunities such as these webinars, as well as other courses, and which we have a course getting underway now, and other opportunities that come on throughout the year. We have lots of publications and resources on our website, www.nadtc.org. Two of our recent ones, including a funding resource guide, and we have some technical assistance briefs that are being released. We do a lot with partnerships and coordination. We have a coordination toolkit you may be interested in. And then we also do on-the-ground activities like community grants, coalition building, as well as other facilitating meetings at the local level. The QR code on the right is to join our mailing list, or you can also find that on our website. So this particular series is a series of webinars. We've done one already, and that's posted on our website. We will be doing one more this year, and they are really geared towards the needs of human service transportation providers, in particular, area agencies on aging or aging and disability resource centers, Title VI Native American programs, Centers for Independence Living, and other disability and aging focused organizations and tribal nations. So at this point, I'm very pleased to turn it over to Bobbi Hegna. Go ahead, Bobbi.
Thank you. I'm Bobbi. I'm with the Center for Independent Living of Western Wisconsin. I've been here 12 years. Started out as the only dispatcher with 10 counties, and now we have 7, and a support person, and we are expanded into 42 counties. Next. Okay. The program is called the New Freedom Transportation Program, and we do quite a few different things. I'm the mobility management, or the regional transportation coordinator, and the mobility manager for the region. I also am president of WWAM, and so we certify other mobility managers in the state. We have a volunteer driver program. We don't hire anyone. We have right now 82 drivers who all volunteer, use their own car. We do have 2 specialized vehicles, 2 vans that I write a private grant for to local businesses. We also run a voucher program. If someone has their own vehicle and they need to go to doctor's appointments and their husband or somebody in their family would like to drive them, we will send them the forms, and we will help pay for half the mileage for them to reimburse to the driver for the gas. Next. Okay. As you can see, this is the map of Wisconsin, and the areas that you see are the 42 counties that we serve. The green one is our first original 10 counties. That's our service area. And then if you see, I think it's tan, that is for independent living resources. These are all IL centers, which are independent living centers. And so we provide the transportation. They've asked us to come and do their transportation programs. So we cover their areas too. Then up here in the, it looks tan on my computer. I apologize. Up top it was North Country Independent Living Center, is now known as Indigo. And the purplish color over here is Mid-State Independent Living Choices for milk. We cover 60.73% of Wisconsin. The areas that are in the white are areas that we will probably never expand into. They're Milwaukee areas, Green Bay, Madison, things like that. They have enough transportation, and we're considered a rural program. So we go into rural areas where nobody goes. Our drivers may travel 65 miles plus to even get to a client from their homes. Next. We do a lot of regional activities. This one is, we were trying to work with other agencies so we could mainstream all of the forms so that everybody across the state was using the same forms. And as you know, that hasn't taken over because everybody has different software programs and everybody keeps different information. As the biggest volunteer driver program right now, we have to collect a lot of information. We have to give to the DOT, and you'll see when I get further into this, we coordinate with a lot of other agencies. I apply for the 5310 fund, and I also apply for state funding. I don't apply, we contract with them. And you'll see that as we get into it is why we have to keep more information than most people. Next. The regional training is getting ready to happen. Since I'm the regional mobility manager, I put on the regional driver training. About 200 drivers will come from this side of the state. Some from up north. Now that we've expanded, I'll be setting up another one over in the Rhinelander Stevens Point area, because where we are now is too far for other drivers to attend. But the way that it works is no one gets any rides that day. They come up to the event center. We have training all day. This year, we are doing active shooters, identity theft, emergency preparedness, and de-escalation. All the drivers will be trained that day in those subjects. We serve them a very nice sit-down lunch. We have raffles and prizes all day long. It usually runs from about 9 in the morning till 3:30. Next. We did a Veterans Transportation Summit, and we coordinated with veteran outreaches. Trying to think of what they call them, they're MCOs, veteran service person. I'm not sure what they call them. Anyway, because the veterans up in Chippewa or Eau Claire or different agencies, they all were sending vans up to the same place we were going. And so we worked out and coordinated things. If their vans weren't full, they took our riders. And if their vans were full, we would take their riders. So everybody got trips, and we weren't having 10 million vehicles out on the highway. So, next. Mobility management. This is what it stands for. Mobility management is a practice of using all available resources. And there is a lot of them that people don't think about. You need to bring the right people to the table to get the results that we're all looking for. We all need to get people from one spot to another. And through coordination, we can do that and still save money. We can get people. We go into a lot of counties that have gaps in services, and we fill that. We do weekend rides, we do nighttime rides, we do holiday rides. So that's what mobility management is, just kind of coordinating with anyone and everybody that you can think of. Next. So some of the community partners, when we are doing our 5310 grant, it asks like what people do. You can have companies provide this facilities, the meeting and training spots that you could use for volunteer hours. You can use that to match different events, marketing. A lot of people that we coordinate will put and do marketing for us, put our information in their senior letters or newspaper ads or things like that. So we work with them and then they help advertise for us too. So, and that helps our capital and operation money stay stable. Next. Okay, so here are some of our partners that we use, managed care organizations. We contract with them and we provide, probably in our 42 counties, we do provide managed care, which is in our state is inclusive, Lakeland, Wisconsin Cares, but they were just bought out by Moline. We look at state funded programs. We do contract, it's 8521. We do contract with about 5 to 6, maybe even more, area ADRCs and Department of Aging. County Social Services, we provide with Human Services. They also help to provide, contract with us to provide mental health rights. When someone's in a crisis but doesn't really need to be in the hospital, we will take them to a safe home 24 hours a day. If they need to be committed, we can take them up to Winnebago, which is by Oshkosh. It's a big institution, that we can take them to, but we contract with the mental health departments at the local human services, community foundations, and trust. If anybody's ever done the 5310 grant for a vehicle, we all know how difficult it can be and the extra paperwork that comes with it. Our first van that we applied for, because we cross all state lines and counties and go into different states, it took about 6 months to a year to get it even licensed to move out of our parking lot. So at that point we sold it, and now I just write to foundations and trust to buy our vans. As long as we're in the counties that they provide service to, they haven't had any issues about helping us to purchase our vans. Transit agents, transit commissions, transportation coordinating committees, talking faster than I can. I sit on a lot of boards, like WILLIN is the Wisconsin Independent Living Network, about transportation. I sit on the non-driver thing so that I can coordinate with them and know what services they offer also. One of the things that we do here is once a year, we do post on our website every transportation provider in the state, so that if you're looking for transportation, it's a one-stop. You can find everything you're looking for, how much they charge. We work with the Veteran Services to help coordinate people going up to the VA and different things like that. There is a horse program that Mel let me know about, where they need to get to horse therapy for people who have PTSD or different things. We coordinate with them to try to do those types of services for the veterans also. Next. We coordinate with food pantries to get people there to pick up their food. During the pandemic, we actually were allowed to not pick up the person, but go and get their food and bring it to them. Leave it on their porch and then knock on the door and let them know their food was outside. We do federal RTAP scholarships. We work with them. Anytime that I need to go to a training or my drivers need to go, or Mel, we can apply for a scholarship to make our funding last longer. They will reimburse. Indigo is one of the, like I had spoke earlier, Indigo is one of the ILs, Mid-State Independent Living Choices and Independent Living Resources. We do that. Riders, depending on who is providing the transportation, riders do have copays. Certain counties charge $8 a stop, but for Wisconsin, when you're going up to Rochester, that is supposed to be the best hospital in the state, there's no way you could go there for $16, and that's what they would go for. We try to make all transportation affordable for people. We also do contracts with workforce development We will provide transportation to working programs or to work. The funding for work rides are only 30 days. That way that gives them time to get a paycheck and to find someone to help them get there. But DVR, we work with the Veterans Employment. We work with IRIS, and I'm not sure if that's coming up next. So next. Here we go. So we work with United Ways, University of Stout for their disability services. We are volunteer. We work with CAP agencies, West Central Regional Planning Commission, regional planner. Like I said, we're in 42 counties. And then I have to attend 33 of the 5-year planning meetings. The other ones we contract through Inclusive, so I don't have to attend those. But I just started attending, so I think I've attended 5. So that makes me like 29 or so more to go. I just did with Cheryl's counties the other night. So, and then I got 5 or 6 invitations to do the next group. And the reason I attend them is that our name then is in their coordinating plan, what we're going to help them do, how we're going to coordinate. We have 5 years to do this and what we could work together on. So next. Oh, I talked fast. So the Center for Independent Living, that's Kyle. He's the director. I'm the director of transportation. And then Mel is the transportation coordinator. A little bit more about New Freedom. We are, like I said earlier, we are the largest volunteer driver program. We only have volunteer drivers. And then we have 2 people for extra training for the vans. And then we have people who are trained extra in order to be able to do the mental health transportation, that type of thing. Am I too fast? Or Cheryl, do you want to start, or do we answer questions right now? Or
why don't we go on to Cheryl, and then we have some questions in the Q&A box. We'll get to those when Cheryl is complete with her presentation.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you,
he
Bobbi.
does. No, Kyle does know his stuff. Thank you. Okay, this is Cheryl.
Hello, sorry about that. My mouse was not working for me. As you heard, my name is Cheryl Bereiter, and I am the transportation coordinator for the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Northwest Wisconsin. Next. What I'm going to go over and discuss with you, or just kind of enlighten you with, is how our program operates. We have different branches of the transportation that I organize, coordinate, and plan for. One is the medical appointments, and then the other one is the social activities. Then we have, I'll give a little bit more explanation of our drivers and what they do and the different types of drivers that we have. Then I will touch a little bit on our plans for collaboration with the Center for Independent Living and Bobbi, and how we are in the process of trying to, I believe the grant has already been submitted, but this is the first time that we've done it. So we're going to try to collaborate and get some great ideas and hopefully expand on this program in our area. Then there'll be questions and the closing. Next. Okay, and what I want to say before I start into this, the pictures that you see are of our vehicles. This is the inside of our new minibus that we purchased last year. It's a 2023 Ford minivan. It holds up to 14 ambulatory people and 10 non-ambulatory. And our overview of our program is to coordinate rides to and from medical appointments for individuals that are over 60 years of age, and or for adults of all ages living with or possibly have a disability. Next. How our program is processed is when they learn of our transportation through the ADRC, they contact me, and then they are directed, they have to meet our eligibility criteria, which I just stated prior. And then they have to fill out a demographic application form. This form can be sent out to them. Usually I do the mail, because a lot of our people are elderly and they don't really care to or want to learn any computer internet processes. I also have email access, and then they can also go onto our website. There is a form there that they can download, print out, and fill out and send back. And then, of course, we can fax it. Now, if you see, we're way up in Wisconsin, and the two counties that I oversee are Burnett County and Polk County. And when a person calls in and they filled out the demographic application, how we bill is we give them half of the IRS standard mileage. And so what it works out to be is 32.75 cents per mile. And that is from the driver's house to the client's house to the facility that they're going to, and then round trip. And then if a person has, say, 5 or more appointments within the month, then we cut that cost in half again. So then they're paying 16.37 cents per mile. And so then the whole thing for the month is calculated out, and then we send the billing about 2 weeks after they've already received those trips. We do have a computerized software for scheduling the trips. How that works is when a client calls in and they need to make an appointment, our requirement is that they are 2 to 3 days in advance. And I usually tell them the sooner the better. Then I ask them the pertinent questions of, well, where are you going? And then what day is your appointment on? And then what time is your appointment? I put this in the computerized program, and our drivers, who are all volunteer medical drivers, and they use their own vehicles, like Bobbi had stated in her presentation, they have access to this computerized program, and they can see all the available drives that are open and as they're color coordinated. So if a driver sees an open ride, if they want to take that ride, then they would assign themselves to the program or to the drive, and it will pop up and it'll show me who the driver is that is going to take that person. From there, the driver will contact our passengers and let them know who they are, what kind of vehicle they're driving, who they work for, and then between the two of them, they discuss what time that the client wants to be picked up, because we are in a rural area, and a lot of our passengers or clients, they travel to the state of Minnesota or up to Duluth or even to Eau Claire. So they need to, if there are appointments at, say, 10 o'clock, they need to leave at a certain time. And I tell them, try to give yourself 10 to 15 minutes prior in case there's some type of paperwork that they need to fill out. And so that's how the process works for our volunteer medicals, drivers, and passengers. Then we go on to the recruitment of volunteer medical drivers. And how that works is we do a lot of advertising. We have a Facebook page, a website, word of mouth. Anyone who's interested in volunteering their time. Our drivers are reimbursed the IRS rate. And so in the computerized program that we have, the driver they calculate their miles. So then at the end of the month, a total is submitted, and then our fiscal manager will then submit that to the county, and they are processed a check. But that's only for their mileage. They are not reimbursed for their time, and some of these trips could take over 7 to 8 hours. And so what I tell our customers is that the driver is taking you there. They will wait for you. We have a little card that we give them, and the driver will say, okay, well, here is my phone number. Call me when you think you're going to be done in about 20 minutes or so, and I will meet you at the front of the building. And then they bring them back home. The scheduling of the appointments, like I said earlier, they call me as soon as they know. I have people that have called lately, and excuse me, and they have a month or two ahead of appointments, so they're already in there, and so my drivers are aware of this, and they plan their schedules around the appointments. Once the trip is completed, then excuse me, then a bill is sent out to the client, and then they are to pay for that. We excuse me. We tell our passengers they are not to give any tips or anything. We are a nonprofit company or agency, and so if they want to give above and beyond, we do accept donations. And then we have our social trips and events. That's a separate entity within the transportation program. How that works is we have 3 vehicles. We have 2 minibuses and a minivan, and they are handicap accessible. I go ahead and I create a schedule for the upcoming month of certain trips that individuals that are interested in taking can also take. And I will get more into that in another screen. Next. Again, like I said prior, our medical appointment procedures, the details of the appointment, and the distance of the service area traveled. Again, I need to reiterate that we do travel to Minneapolis a lot. We travel to Rochester. We've gone to Duluth, Eau Claire. We don't usually transfer or transport anybody down the southern part of Wisconsin, because like Bobbi said earlier too, they have their own means of transportation. And so usually if they have that, they don't contact us. The driver confirmation of appointment, like I said earlier, the driver is to call the passenger and let them know. We send out the invoicing and the billing, and it has all of the trips that they've taken throughout the month, and they pay from that. And then if they have any upcoming or set of scheduled appointments, such as like a dialysis, they would either send that back to me or they would call in with that new set of appointments. Next. This is that's one of our buses. That's our Burnett County minibus. And this screen will kind of touch base more on the social events and activities. Every 2 weeks, I try to schedule on the calendar for my social drivers essential trips, such as grocery shopping, medication, anything that we feel is essential. This kind of came into play, especially when COVID hit, and a lot of people weren't going anywhere. So we would, like Bobbi said too, we would go get the groceries and bring them back to them. But now that it's lifted somewhat, we do schedule trips to our bigger towns. And then if anybody wants to go on those trips, they call into the office, and then I put them on the trip log. How they find out about the events is it's published. We have a monthly newsletter called The Voice, and the transportation calendar of events is posted on there. We have a Facebook page, and then they can go online also and look on our website, and it has the different events that they have. Then we have the non-essential trips, which again, banking. I've had people want to go to some thrift stores, or they want to go to the barbershop. And how it works is we plan these events in one area. So a bus could take up to 10 people if they wanted to. Usually we don't have the bus at full capacity for most of these trips, but we certainly try. And so that way, you know, the trip is feasibly, economically worth it. Then we also have our wheelchair accessible. These are for anyone who is wheelchair or is non-ambulatory and they can't get in and out of a vehicle on their own. So if they need to go to a doctor's appointment or, you know, to the pharmacy or even grocery shopping, whatever, we do take them. Sometimes if for the medical appointments, it will be a solo trip. Unless they bring an aide with them or whatnot. But our buses have the electric lifts, and then our van is a manual lift, but it, you know, it works just fine for anybody who is non-ambulatory. And again, we've taken them non-essential, barbershop, wherever, you know, if it's feasible, wherever they need to go. And then lastly, our social events, which this is pretty popular in our area. I try to create a versatile activity. It could be a movie matinee, and just to get our rural people, elderly and or possibly handicapped, out into the community and doing things. So they would, the big thing over the summer is farmers markets, and that's a big hit. A lot of people like to go to that. And we have festivals, arts and crafts, they like to go. And then there's also, like, we've offered a couple computerized programming classes, learning your cell phone, different things like that. And that has been very popular. And then in addition to that, what we like to do, or what has happened now, is I get groups of people that have called me and said, hey, we'd like to go down to the Como Zoo. And so we get a bus full and they take them down there. The social trips, for the people that are on them, it costs them $2 per trip, and that's round trip. If they're not in our county or if they're out of state, it's $5. And they pay the driver at the time that they get on the bus for the activity. Next. Collaboration of plans with Bobbi. We are trying to expand the transportation program to further cover the entire demographic area. I know that there are people on here from all different parts of the states. We are very rural. I guess probably the biggest metro would be over an hour away from us. So there are a lot of people up here that don't get out, that we cannot get to them in a timely manner. And so we're going to see how we can reach out to them. And I know Bobbi touched on too that they have drivers that work on weekends, nights, holidays, and we're hoping to expand on that too, because most of my drivers do not work on those specific times or hours or days. And then we also want to create a voucher system, which is different from the CILWW that's in place, and hopefully reach out to a lot of the temp services in our area, because they're always looking for help. And a lot of times people don't have an adequate vehicle. And if we can get them up and running and started, like say the first month or so, then maybe they can get their own vehicle. But we want to collaborate. We want to learn everything we can and help promote and advertise and do everything we can so that our communities are able to access the program, as well as like Bobbi has done in the others. Next. Okay, our drivers, our volunteer drivers versus the social drivers. We do both of the volunteer and social drivers do background checks. Our social drivers are outsourced. We have a company, a local company here that they are the ones who actually pay our social drivers. They are paid on an hourly rate. And so they go to them and they fill out the application through this outsourced company. They are only to use our vehicles. And so they are trained on how to use the lift and how to use the restraints in the vehicles. And then they are given the calendar in advance, and they can kind of pick and choose which event they wanted to drive for. And so that is how the social drivers department works, as opposed to the volunteer drivers. We do background checks for them. They are reimbursed the mileage. They use their own vehicle, and then they can assign themselves to the trips. And the difference being that the volunteer driver is not paid for their time, they're paid mileage, and the social drivers are paid hourly. And of course, we can always use more drivers. Always looking for them. So right now I currently have 20 volunteer medical drivers and about 7 social drivers. Again, with the driving, the driver basically can pick and choose their own hours. If a driver wants to, drive for medical appointments every day of the week, they can. And if a social driver wants to drive for all the events in the month, they can. However, I try to kind of even it out so everybody gets a fair share on the social trips. Next. This leads us to the questions, which I see there's quite a few. And that's it. That's me. And thank you for listening.
We can't hear you,
Thank
Carrie.
you, Bobbi and Cheryl. Really appreciate you sharing your programs and the collaborations and coordination that you're doing. We do have quite a few questions that we'll get to. I'm going to take the liberty to ask one before we get to the other questions. And you've the service area, Cheryl, you have a much smaller service area, and Bobbi, you cover a lot of service area, and you both are working in Burnett and Polk County, and you're undertaking both applying for Section 5310 funds, which in Wisconsin are oversubscribed. So there's a lot more applications than there is funding. How are you approaching that so that the DOT and others, or you're just not duplicating your services?
I can answer. They called and we talked about our program versus their program and how they plan to run their voucher program, which is very different from the way that we run. So what we're trying to do is I'm more than willing to help them and show them and do, and we're going to try not to duplicate services. Their rules are way different from ours. Our drivers are trained different. Our social drivers are volunteer drivers. Our drivers do all type of rides. So we're just not going to be duplicating services. As we know, you're not supposed to do that when you do the 5310. Can't duplicate service.
Mm-hmm. Also, we were talking earlier too, Edwin was up here and he did a survey and throughout both of our counties, and the need for more transportation and possibly having a central location for people to be picked up to take to other bigger rural areas so they can shop is very high, the need for that. And then, like I also said too, we have a lot of businesses, local businesses up here that are crying for help, and they can't get the people because they don't have access to a vehicle to provide to go to work. So those are 2 specific things that we're going to try, that hopefully are not going to be similar to what Bobbi is doing. And like she said, the voucher program is going to be totally different. we're really trying to think outside the box and get some new ideas.
Wonderful. I think we can all agree that there's just never enough transportation, and that the coordination, I love to see the coordination that you're doing to ensure that there isn't duplication. I just want to bring up one last slide. That's the Transportation Technical Assistance Coordination Library. Wanted to make sure you had these resources. All of the technical assistance centers like NADTC link into this one site that talks more in depth about various coordination topics. So look there for some more information. And then I think we'll get to the questions. Here's our contact information. Anjali, are you ready to go through some of the questions in the Q&A?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, our first question is, do you have volunteers located in every county you cover? And if not, how do you cover a ride for that county?
Okay, so we have drivers in most of the counties. Some counties, the very rural ones, maybe only have one driver, but we do work up in the far north. We work with Inclusive, who then has given us permission to go past the mile radius that we use, usually 65 miles, but we can contact them and ask for permission to go further. So we will bring another driver from a different county if we're given permission.
And Inclusive, that's the managed care organization for
sorry.
that area. Yep. Thank you.
Managed care.
And
Did Cheryl have
yeah.
Oh, okay.
okay. The opportunity to
yes, our drivers are within the counties. Burnett stays in Burnett, Polk stays in Polk. And the reason being is that because we do charge, the fee, so many cents per mile, we don't want a driver, say, that lives in Burnett County going down to pick up somebody in Polk County just to get extra miles, because we have to in turn bill the client. And so we have a radius that we use, and they are not to go out of that, I think it's 25-mile radius. And so I also tell the clients, hey, don't worry, we'll find somebody who lives close to you, because of course they're always worried about the cost. And the only other time that I would have a driver go from the Burnett County to Polk County is we do work with our veterans, and we offer them a flat rate. And if I can't find a driver within that veterans area of service, then I will reach out to somebody, because my main goal is to get that person to their medical facility. And so that's the only time that they kind of cross borders.
Okay, thank you. I have another question here. They said they missed this when you all were presenting. How long did you say your volunteer driver program has been around, and how many volunteers do you have that they onboard each year? It's so amazing.
Right now we have 82 volunteers. We used to have 100 plus. We lost quite a few drivers during the pandemic. So can you repeat the second half of the question? I'm sorry.
How
many
often
volunteers?
do you onboard them?
Every time they call, and anybody who call, I just trained a driver yesterday. I have another one next week. Whenever they call, the packet is sent to them. All their backgrounds are done. We do a circuit court. We do a sexual offender, and we do a caregiver background check on all drivers. And once a year, we do their driver's license also. And then once all of that comes back as cleared, then I go out and train them. And anytime, we don't wait to have a certain date. I do the regional transportation training, but that's not about training new drivers. That's about training drivers that are already working for a program and giving them additional training so that they don't have to be pulled off the road all the time. They get one big training a year. So there are two different types of training.
I don't know what happened here. And for us, I have 20 volunteer medical drivers, And then I have about 7 social drivers. Every person that shows an interest in driving for the ADRC of Northwest Wisconsin, once the paperwork has been processed, I reach out to them and they come into the office and I do an orientation with them and I go over everything. I give them handouts. They get a policy handbook. And for the medical drivers, we have some like a tote that we give them with emergency stuff. So they are pretty acclimated before they start driving on what they should do. But right now, like I said, we can always use more.
Always, always.
Thank you, ladies. Our next question is, can we make it so that we can save the chat? Carrie, are we able to save the chat or the questions?
Yeah, we can save that. I believe that is an option. So apologize if it's not. I think it might be something that needs to be set up ahead of time. So, yeah.
Okay. The next question is, do the volunteers utilize their own vehicles or do they just use the vans, or is it a hybrid option?
For us, all the volunteers drive their own car. We have 2 specialized vehicles, vans. When someone needs to use those, 2 of our drivers are trained. They're given the training, the safety training to drive those. And then when they don't need to drive them, they're driving their own cars.
And how ours works is that the medical drivers, they use their own vehicles. And then the social drivers that are paid hourly through another company, they are the ones that use our vehicles exclusively. Polk County has the new bus and a van, and then Burnett County has a minibus.
Okay, another question we have is, are drivers permitted to sign any discharge paperwork when people have had a procedure? That seems to happen often when people don't have anyone to sign that say they're responsible for the clients.
We don't have that at all. My drivers take them, drop them off, sit and wait, and bring them back. The driver does a log and has to turn in all of his logs with his own signature that he did these rides. So we don't have the rider or anybody, the nurse or somebody, we don't have any of those. It's all on trust. We trust that they took that person.
With our program, that's why we have the demographic application. So the person that's potentially going to be going somewhere knows that they are their own person and they're responsible for themselves. And if they need assistance, that they will have to provide that themselves. We do not provide anything like that, and we don't have any of our drivers signed off on anything. And what I do is I encourage the person, say, hey, if you have somebody that can come with you, sign for you, or say they have some memory issues or something like that, we always have them bring somebody with.
Can I add that too? We also do also. They can bring one person with them on the ride at no charge, and that's considered a caretaker who can remember what's said in the doctor's office or help them get to the doctor's office. So we do allow one person to go with them.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the database program used to schedule medical trips that drivers see and self-select for? Is that something available to share or buy?
Okay, so we're very different programs. I will tell you this right here. We do not let our drivers access our software program. They have nothing to do with it. Because we are in 42 counties, you would have a driver way up north wanting to take all the Eau Claire rides because that's more money for him. So we have dispatchers who dispatch the ride. Right now, we are in the middle of switching programs. Our software program got bought out by a different company. And so we are working with someone else to set up our software again. So we have very different types of software.
Yes, we do. With my job, I'm basically a one-stop shop. And so I keep an eye on the appointments and all the scheduling and making sure that a driver is attached to a passenger. But we do allow them to look and see what is out there and available. However, they, like I said earlier, they have a cap, a radius cap on how many miles they can go to. And then they are only allowed to see certain portions of the program. They can't go in and see a person's history or invoicing or billing or anything like that. They are only able to see the person that needs a ride, what their phone number or contact information is, and where they're located. And the rest I have to take care of.
Another question is, what if a medical trip is not picked up by a volunteer driver? What happens then?
We just let the rider know that we don't have a driver that day. And if they would like to reschedule, we're more than happy to do that. So
That's exactly how we would do it here.
Okay, great.
So Anjali, can I step in? I have a question about the partnerships that you have. So Bobbi, you have a wide variety of partnerships.
yes,
You know, how long did it take to generate those, and how did you go about getting all of those?
12 years. I've been here 12 years. So obviously before me, Denise Larson was here. And from my understanding, Tim and Kyle got a little bit of money from United Way. And then it kind of just went from there. I do a lot of on the road traveling, talking to people, 5-year plans. People will ask for my card, just different things. I'm always handing out my card for people. Like they'll say, well, we can't get transportation for that. And I'll go, yes, you can. Here's my card. So we've done it that way. So I just talk to a lot of people. And, you know, when they can't, we fill in gaps. We don't go into an area and say, oh, we want to take over your transportation. But I will say, hey, we can do that ride on weekends. We can do it at night. We don't get a lot of requests, but it's out there to do that. We can do taking people to the park at Christmas time to see the holiday lights. We've done that. We will take them anywhere they want to go. And once you do that and hand out your card, they come. They will call you because there is a shortage of transportation in the state. That's the biggest issue I feel that we have.
And I think one of the things that we've seen and heard from you is that you have a diversity of revenue sources. So you're not reliant on the federal or even the state funding. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. You know, the 5310 is becoming very competitive, and you usually don't get enough that's going to last your program all year. So you need to look at outside things to help. So other agencies are more than happy to pay for rides to get their people there. DVR needs to get them trained, so then they pay us. So we try to have New Freedom money there for people who can't afford to pay, or who aren't with agencies, who fall through the cracks, who or live in areas where there are no other billing agents that we can use. So we try to use that money very sparingly. And then that's why we have so many other billing agencies to work with them, so that everybody gets a ride, but we can still make our money stretch. Now we have been where we'll run out of money, and then we can only do like medical rides. Right now we don't limit rides. We have social, medical, business, education, all of those. But when the money starts to ride low, then we will limit just to grocery shopping and medical, just to life essential rides.
Thank you very much. I see that we're nearing the end. I'm sorry, Anjali, if you had another one queued up.
I did. Yes.
Do you want to ask that one quick? We've got a couple minutes.
Yes. This one is, how many years did it take to mobilize transportation expansion into the 42 rural Wisconsin counties? Any major challenges overcame?
Yes, there's a lot of challenges. It's getting the drivers. That's the biggest challenge. And when the gas prices go up, you lose drivers because, you know, it's a wear and tear on their car and they're paying out gas. And yes, we give them a mileage reimbursement, but they're not making any money. That is for sure. It's drivers who do it out of the kindness of their heart. So recruiting those, some have gone back into the workforce because they need it to survive with groceries going up and everything. So I think the biggest one is the drivers. And just coordinating with people sometimes. And then a lot of people fall through the cracks. And it's getting the word out to them, like, hey, there's this program, we're a really well-kept secret, but there's this program that will help you do this. You just have to call this number. And when they call, sometimes they don't know if it's free or they have to pay. And they don't know if we're a taxi service, because some think it is. Like, you can just call and get a ride. That's not it. It's 3 to 4 days, just like your program, Cheryl. So it's mostly, I think the biggest thing, one is the funding and the drivers. That's the two biggest. And it took 12 years to expand into 42 counties.
Thank you so much, both of you. And thank you, Anjali, for helping with that, and Bobbi and Cheryl talking about your programs and how you're coordinating. Anjali put a link to our survey, our evaluation in the chat. That really helps us to improve on these so that we bring you the topics and make sure that they're valuable to you. This has been recorded and will be posted on our website along with the PowerPoint. So you will have the contact information of both of our speakers there. And if you have any other questions, I know we didn't get to a lot of these questions, feel free to follow up with us. And we will forward any questions, some of those questions, to our presenters to get back to you as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day. This ends our webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.